Hello, my name is Leroy Blevins. Welcome to Mysteries and Histories. This is part two of solving the JFK assassination. And as you've seen in part one, I go into details about what to look for, how I done this, and how I done certain things. Now I want to show you how I piece it all together after I do my, find all my information stuff and how I piece everything together. So, maybe this will help you too if you're going to do your own investigation. You will see what to look for, what not to look for, how to handle this or how to handle that. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to point up something here and how I found this location or how I piece all this together and how I knew this information. Okay, which I'm going to show you right here. Okay, when we're looking at, I'm going to show the manhole cover first. Okay, all right, what I did was I take a map like this. I put my circle right here if you watch my cursor. Okay, and we're going to view this Zapruder film, and I've already found the shots in this Zapruder film. Okay, I see the two shots to the manhole cover, bullet ricocheting upward. Okay, then I know the gunman on the rooftop of the county records building, so I put that in location, and I know they found a bullet casing in 1974 by a worker on the rooftop of the county records building. So now we got photographic evidence that shows there was a gunman on the rooftop of the county records building. We also have physical evidence when the bullet casing was found there that shows there was a gunman there as well. So I know this location here. Then when we look at the manhole cover, we line them shots back up. It does, in fact, line up to the rooftop of the county records building. But how I piece all this information together is this. Okay, I take the map out. I make my circle of that location, the manhole cover. I place my images here that shows the shots being taken here. I take other images on top of the manhole cover images, and I place locations where the bullet struck at and where the bullet came, the rest and everything else. And then when I find other images, like when I was starting to get these images here and I colorize them, I start adding these to the image because when I first started putting this image together, I just had the map and a circle with the three Zapruder film frames. Then I took, my friend got an image for me, took an image of the manhole cover for me, and I placed the location of them from as seen as Zapruder film, these locations, and then made a circle here is where the bullet came to rest at. Okay, then all of a sudden I start getting these other images in, and I start placing them on top of this frame as well. That's why I know for a fact, and how I know for a fact is because of my photographic evidence when I piece all this evidence together, because all these images here was taken right in this location here where that manhole cover is. There was a bullet line in the grass, which is also an image of, which was found right here in this location right here if you watch my cursor. Okay, was found in this location as well. And there's a Secret Service agent's hand coming down, picking up that bullet that's lying in the grass there where it came to rest. So when I got done having this map, I placed that circle there, and then I placed these frames here, and then my friend takes the images for me, and then I put these in locations, okay, and then I start getting other images in, okay, so I'll put this map away, and then when I get the other images in, and I colorize them and stuff, I say, okay, well, this image here was taken in this location here, and this image was here was taken in this location, this image here was taken in this location, this image here was taken in this location, here's that manhole cover that it took in that location, and I start piecing this all together, and it's like, okay, well, now we know there was shots taken at the manhole cover. We know the location where they came from because we have the Zapruder film showing us the gunman on the rooftop of the county records building. Then there was a bullet casing found in 1974 on the rooftop of the county records building. And today, just like I had him go back and take another picture for me, and today, both bullet holes can still be seen. So when I got all this information together and I piece it all together and I place it on maps like this on each one individual shots, I place all this evidence in here, and it's like, okay, now I know that the two shots that hit the manhole cover, because they both lined up to the rooftop of the county records building. There's evidence to show there was a gunman on top of the roof or top of the county records building. There was evidence found on top of there, because we can see the gunman there. There was a bullet casing found there. We see two bullet strikes to the manhole cover. We got other images showing that. We see a bullet line in the grass area and stuff like that. So now we have photographic evidence and physical evidence that we can touch, prod, and feel that the manhole cover was in fact shot by not one bullet but two bullets. Okay, because actually there was another bullet found over here, dug in the grass a little bit. They had to dig it out a little bit, but there was grass because when the bullet struck here, it shot back into the grass a little bit. So yeah, they got that bullet as well. Okay, this helped me out a lot. Like I said in part one, a lot of things that I look for help me out when I analyze films and images and everything else. Just like after I get done finding these, and I know the angles of the shots, where the shots line back up, just like shots number 1 and 5 came in from the right, exiting out to the left. And then when you start piecing all this information together and stuff, then we're getting a more better view of it. We're going to understand a lot more and actually what took place that day and what went on, because when we place all this evidence back in place and understand a lot more, okay, which a lot of people don't understand. That's why when I look at the JFK assassination case, excuse me, I had to take a different turn into it than what other researchers done. Okay, they concentrate on documents, they concentrate on files. Okay, you can pull some information from that, but you're not going to get that much information that you need. So you have to look at what we see here, because now after I found all this evidence, okay, and I place it back in their location stuff, now I look for eyewitness accounts and go over their stories. So then I come across like two gunmen in shelter number 3 right behind Mr. Zapruder. We see Bill Newman. We see Mr. Zapruder. Okay, the Newmans claim that the shots came from directly behind them. Okay, then we have Mr. Zapruder says in his first testimonies and stuff, until after the Warren Commission report came out, that he changed his story. But he said the assassin was behind him. So now what we do is we go ahead and go back to the maps. Okay, we're going to go back to the maps now. We're going to place photographic evidence on locations where these shots occurred, what shots were occurred at that time, and where the shots came from. And then we place the gunmen in the locations, the spot, the section where they was firing from, by photographic evidence and everything else. Place the eyewitnesses back into their locations as well to see if everything lines up. And then when we look at the films, we look at the images, and we look at the evidence, we can see that Mr. Zapruder's testimony matches what we found. The Newman family matches what we found, because what's behind them? Shelter number 3. They claim the shots came from directly behind them. The assassin was behind them. By photographic evidence, we can see 2 gunmen inside shelter number 3, aiming the rifles, firing the rifles from that location. We know by lining up films and images that frames 313 of the Zapruder film shows a fatal headshot. That's a fatal headshot to JFK. Then we have the shot to Governor Connally as he was turning off to his left, and frame 330 of the Zapruder film. So now we can pinpoint the locations where these bullets made contact, and we know exactly where these bullets made contact. So see, there's a lot of information now we can pull and we can have now, because we can see it and we can look at it. Now we know. Okay, like I said, when it comes to doing research in this type of case, you have to look at it from all angles. You have to study it. You have to have things in mind, just like when I did the autopsy images on JFK, locations where these bullets struck and the exit wounds and everything else. You got one here, exit wound here. You got another entry wound here, another entry wound here, and then another one up on the side here, which would be up in this location right here. Okay, I had to mark that down as well, just like when I did Governor Connally as well. When it came to Governor Connally, okay, we have a mark here, we have an entry wound here, we have an entry wound here, we got another mark here, we got one on his wrist, and then we have one on his inner thigh. Okay, we have to look at this. Okay, if we don't look at this and say, well, one bullet could not make this much damage right here. If we look at Governor Connally, one bullet comes through here, but then he's got a bullet wound here, bullet wound here, bullet wound here, and then he's got one right here on his side, which are not even presenting or not even talking about. But it's in there because we can see it in the films and images. When we start lining it up, we can see that Governor Connally was shot in his right side by frame 254. He was shot in his right side as he was looking out to his right. Okay, so we know this for a fact because we can see it. And then when you go in further, in frame 337, you can actually see there's blood on Governor Connally's side and a bullet hole in his jacket and everything else. Okay, and then in the other images, you can see there's a bullet hole in the seat as well of his. But like I said, when you look at these images and you piece it together, you got to have all this information. You got to do a lot of research. You got to do a lot of study. Just like I said, when I did the images and stuff, okay, I place the images and the locations back where they belong and stuff like that. So when I look at this, I'm going to, okay, this is this shots, these are the shots here, this shots here. I can place them back in order and stuff, because when they're in order, as the firing of the shots, I'm basing everything on eyewitness accounts as well, because eyewitness accounts, everything that I find in my photographic evidence does in fact line up with the eyewitness accounts, and the images match the same as well, just like right here. We have Mr. Spruder here. We have the Newmans right here. What's behind them? Shelter number 3. If you look at the picket fence area, it's more off to the right of them. What's behind shelter? Shelter number 3. Photographic evidence shows shelter number 3. The view from that window where that fatal headshot came from was a clear shot to JFK, and what's it going to do? It's going to push him off to his left, as we see in the Spruder film. So the Spruder film shows JFK being shot in the right side of the temple, being pushed off to his left. Okay, this is what we see in the Spruder film. This window lines up for a shot that goes from the right and pushes off JFK to the left, as we see in the Spruder film. Okay, and then when you take these other images, like, you know, the Newmans and Mr. Spruder's, their testimonies, shots come from behind, and we have photographic evidence of gunmen with rifles in their hands, aiming their rifles and firing their rifles from this location. Okay, so everything's fitting. The proper location on the grassy knoll of the gunman was in shelter number 3. We could base this, and we know this by facts, because not when we can see it, we know exactly where it came from, because we can see the shots come from this location. We can see the gunmen with their rifles in their hands, and then we have the testimonies of the eyewitness accounts place them in that location as well. So see, we have all this information. That's why I said when it comes to this case here, oops, I clicked out. So now you know how it's done. Movie magic. Anyway, like I said, when you look at this stuff like this, okay, and you piece it all together, okay, you have to understand that when you look at films and you look at images, you can't just piece 1, 2, 3 things together and that's it. Just like, you know, you got to find answers when you analyze it too. Just like that's another thing you got to keep in mind. When you find something, you have to find the answers. So when someone comes along and says, hey, what about this? You'll have that answer. Okay, just like we know about the dent inside the chrome. Okay, where did that dent come from? If you watch the angle of that dent, okay, it didn't come in from an up position. It did come in from a straight in position because of the dent right here. So you line up that dent, you place it back in its location, and you line up where that dent comes from, and you'll see where it lines back up and goes right, lines up right to JFK's throat. Okay, so now we know that's where the bullet exit, because the bullet had to come from JFK's throat for it to strike that chrome here, because now we have that chrome that's dented right here from that bullet exiting JFK's throat. So the bullet did in fact strike JFK in the back of the head. I mean, in the back. The bullet did exit his throat and struck the chrome here, because now we know, now we can pinpoint where it is this shot made contact with. And when as you see here, Governor Connolly was sitting right here, so where's going to pass Governor Connolly's head? So he's going to react to that, which we see also in the film, because he's reacting like this because he moves over to his right. So he's reacting because something just passed his head after that bullet exited his throat, and then that bullet strikes and hits the chrome on the windshield. And where did they find that bullet at? They found it in the front seat after the assassination. They found bullet there, and they also found bullet fragments there, and they had bullet fragments in the back of JFK's limo as well. So that's where they found the bullet at. So there's a bullet lying in the floorboard, right along with the dent right here. That was the bullet that struck JFK in the back and exited his throat. Okay, this is why there was no throat shot. Okay, the bullet was exiting, not entering. Then when we're going back into it, you got to look at it. Did a tracheotomy on JFK. That's why the hole was bigger and everything else. So you have to take all this into consideration, which a lot of people's not going to look at. They're going to say, well, the shot came from here. They're going to tell you that. That's all they're going to do is say the shot came from here. It's a frontal shot. Here you go. That's it. But where's their proof? Where's their evidence at? They're not going to go into full detail. I can go into full detail because I look at all this stuff and I piece all this stuff together. And I try to find this information because I want to find the answers. It's like when we look at Oswald Sniper's Nest, okay? Oswald Sniper's Nest, okay? A lot of people, like I said, when they overlook evidence, which I'm going to point this out real quick, today we now know that Oswald's thumbprints are on the bullet casings. They weren't talked about until 2010 when me and my friend Guy Cooper brought it out, because we made this discovery. But there's Oswald's right thumbprint on there. Okay, now we take this evidence and we put it back together where they found the bag, where his palm print was, where his index finger was, where his other palm print was, and the bullet casing with the thumbprint on it. We place all that back in there. We get more details now. Now we know exactly what happened in that location. Okay, this is the type of investigation I do. I do research, and then after research, I do an investigation. Excuse me, and after I do the investigation, as I'm doing the investigation, I piece all this evidence together. It's a long, slow process. That's why I spent 12 years on this case now. Just passed a couple weeks ago. where I actually, this was my 13th year into this case, but I'm only going to base it on 12 because after 12 years hit, I went ahead and end the case because to me the case is closed. JFK assassination case is closed because I already found the evidence, I already know exactly what took place that day, I already know who was behind it. But there's still people out there say, well, I disagree with you on who's behind it. I still disagree with you of a gunman being here and a gunman being there. They could disagree with me all they want, which is understandable. That's their opinion. But the point of fact of it is, everything that I'm showing exactly is evidence. It's not a story. I'm just giving you a story of what we see in the films and images. That's what I do. But like I said, that's a long, slow process. And you got to have all this stuff in mind when you go through the films and the images and you piece all this together, just like the gunman, when someone pointed out, said how the gunman, okay, because like I said, when you do an investigation like this, you have to put yourself as being a skeptic as well. Okay, not only you're the researcher, but you have to be the skeptic as well, because you go say, well, if that gunman was in that shelter number 3 right here, if this gunman is the gunman in shelter right here, all right, how's he looking out that top window? How's his gun pointed out here? Because you see this guy down here, he's this tall here, but this guy's standing way up here. How is he up that high? So now you have to figure this out as being a researcher, so you know. So when that question comes up, you have that answer. This is the answer right here. The guy was standing on one of the other guy's back, which is right here, which I'll show you an image right here. It's in here somewhere because I just saw it right here. He's my nephew's. This is how the gunman was looking out the top window after he took his shot. Okay, so he'd be looking out the top window here, and then he took a shot right out here. And then when he had the second window, third window, bottom window right here. So yes, it's easy for him to take a shot out of that window by standing like this. Okay, and as you notice, I went through details on, if you watch my other videos, went details on how I found them gunmen, how I ID'd them gunmen, and there was 2 of the tramps. Okay, these are things you have to look at, and you have to come up with questions yourself when you look at it. Just why I sit there and say, when you take a shot, excuse me, when you look at this, okay, you look at the time frame where it starts at, and then right here, all right, you put your each film, just like right here, each film's got to go in a time frame, okay. This expand like the Orville Nix film starts here, ends here. Zapruder film starts here, ends right here. So he's covering the whole section here. When we watch the Orville Nix film, I have to know this information as well, because I got to know only this part of the film and this section right here of Elm Street that's only going to be seen in the next film. But I know from this point to this point here, the whole street of Elm Street is going to be seen in the Zapruder film. I've done this to all the films and images. Just like all Jan, I'll put here. I'll put image number 6 is taken right in this location. Right in this location here. Then image number 7 was taken in this location here. So I pinpoint all this stuff. Okay. But we have to look at this. We have to keep this in mind when we're doing it. But as I go, I'm going to go back. If we're just going to take a stationary car, place the X right there, and take a stationary car, one subject, we could get false information all around the place. We could say the gunman was all in these different locations, okay? We're not going to get our true answers, we're not going to get our proper answers as well. But when we look at things differently, like we look at it this way, okay, now we're going to know who has a clearer shot, which I'll bring up this one right here. That'd be this one right here. As you see here in this image here, which I'm going to bring it up a little bit, and we're going to concentrate on this car right here because this JFK's limo. Okay, if you see the gunman here, he had from this point here, he actually had a little bit further. He can go from this point here, where the first shot rung out right here, to this location right here to take that shot to JFK. That's how much view he had from this point here to this point here. Okay, now let's look at this gunman over here. If he took a shot from this location here, he's going to have to go past these cars, past these people. He's going to end up hitting somebody here or anything else like that, or hit the driver or Mr. Connolly before he even hit JFK. So see, he cannot take a clear shot there. He's not going to have a clear shot. He's never going to have a clear shot from that location. The picket fence, or this manhole cover right here, where they said there's a gunman in here as well. He's not going to have a clear shot. He's going to end up hitting the back of the car. Okay, but he also has to remember, he has to go through trees as well, and he has to go through these pedestrians here. You don't know if the pedestrian's going to step out in front of him, same as you would here if you're in this location here. You ain't got that much of a viewpoint, okay? He has no viewpoint here. He has no viewpoint here. He has a little bit of viewpoint on the corner here, but he's only got from this point here to this point here, okay? But he's also got these guys right here, but you only can go from this point to this point. From this point here on back, as you see here, There's no viewpoint because you'd be behind that retaining wall right here. Only one had a clear shot and best shot to JFK for the fatal headshot would be from shelter number 3. So mine also lines up as well with that because he had a more of a clearer view because he actually had a starting view from here where the first shot took place all the way to here. So he had plenty of time to take that shot to JFK. Okay, and he had plenty of time to line it up as well. So see, when you look at these facts, okay, and you add the people back into it, and you remember it's a downgrade downgrade road, and you also have to remember the people beside it, like I point out right here. You got people beside the stuff. You can get a proper angle and you get a proper location of where them gunmen were. Just like when I found a gunman inside of shelter number 3, I had my friend take pictures of inside the shelter. He looked out this window here. He took a shot out of here. When he first was aiming down Elm Street at JFK's limo, he was actually aiming out this window, but he had to move up one, okay, so he can get a clear shot past a small tree right here. And when he shot down, where's he going to shoot? When you shoot from this location here, where are you going to go? You're going to go shooting to the right, push off to the left, and you're going to shoot downgrade, which we see in the film. It's coming down. He's aiming his rifle downward. He's not aiming straight, as people must point out, as the badge man or the other gunman on this side over here on the shelter. If you watch my cursor, they got him aiming straight up like this, okay, straight up. Wasn't trying to do fire over their heads because he's not. You got to actually, if you watch this, you see my cursor, okay. Here's Elm Street down here. Here's Elm Street, okay. So you would have to aim down, as you see in the films and images of my gunmen that I found. They're aiming down and they're firing downward. But the other gunman that's trying to pull off his badge man and everything else, he's aiming straight ahead. The gunman over here on the side here between the picket fence and the shelter, he's aiming straight ahead. That they claim was in the Orville Nix film, which he's not, but they claim he is. But he's aiming straight ahead. What's he doing? He's firing. They're firing their shots basically over here to this other, to the police station over here at the time, or anywhere else. They're firing over here because they're not firing at Kennedy if they're taking them shots from that location. And as they portray it, they'd be shooting up here. They're not going to be shooting down here. They're going to be shooting up here. Okay, they're going to shoot somebody up here. So see, these are things you have to look at, and then you piece all this together. Like I said, I hope a lot of this information helps out people, okay? Because when you do this information, and people keeps on asking me, how did you come up with this? How did you come up with that? How do you know? Okay, how do you know? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another part to this and get, and, sum it all up for you. But I hope you understand a lot of stuff when it comes to JFK assassination. There's a lot of time and a lot of research in it, and it's going to take up a lot of time if you want to do it the proper way. Thank you. Don't forget to like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. Y'all have a pleasant day.